They played by the rules, saved every penny, skipped vacations, paid off the house. But now, in the years that were supposed to be peaceful, they're broke. How is it possible that seniors who did everything right are running out of money? The truth will shock you, and it's affecting millions of older Americans today. We grow up being told there's a formula. Work hard, save consistently, live below your means, and everything will work out in the end. But for a growing number of older adults in America, that promise has been broken. They did what they were supposed to do, tucked money into 401ks, clipped coupons, skipped luxuries, and built lives around discipline and sacrifice. But now, instead of enjoying retirement, many are facing a stark reality: dwindling savings, rising costs, and the terrifying question of how they'll afford to live another 10, 15, or 20 years. This isn't about financial irresponsibility. It's about a system that shifted under their feet. From skyrocketing healthcare costs and inflation to underperforming retirement accounts and insufficient safety nets, the odds were quietly stacked against them. In this episode of Elderly Truths, we'll explore how we got here, why seniors are going broke even after a lifetime of saving, and what this means for the next generation. Because this isn't just their problem, it's ours too. And the truth is, it could happen to anyone. For decades, we were sold the same idea: work hard, save consistently, and you'll be fine. The American dream version of retirement was simple: scrape together enough to retire around 65, maybe pick up a hobby, travel a little, spoil the grandkids, and enjoy your golden years in peace. But for millions of older Americans, that dream never arrived. They followed the advice, lived frugally, paid off their mortgages, skipped eating out, bought used cars, poured every extra dollar into savings. But the rules they followed were written for an economy that no longer exists. Back when pensions were more common, when healthcare was more affordable, and when inflation didn't eat away at fixed incomes quite so fast, that plan might have worked. But today, it's not enough. Take James, 74. He worked as a public school teacher for over 30 years. Never lived extravagantly, bought a modest home, drove the same pickup truck for decades. He contributed to his retirement account every year, even when it meant tightening the belt elsewhere. Now retired, James collects Social Security and a small pension. But after paying for his wife's medications, property taxes, and rising grocery bills, there's barely enough left for electricity and gas. Last year, he had to take out a loan just to cover an unexpected dental procedure. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he told me. "I did everything they told me to do." And he's not alone. The world changed, but retirement advice didn't. We kept telling people to save enough, without realizing that enough keeps moving, especially when healthcare premiums climb, investment returns fluctuate, and the cost of living outpaces retirement income. Older adults who did the right thing are finding themselves left behind, not because of poor planning, but because the system they planned for is no longer built to support them. Many didn't account for the fact that life expectancy has grown, meaning retirements now last 20, even 30 years, or that a single medical event can drain tens of thousands of dollars, or that the value of money saved over decades may not stretch nearly as far in today's economy. And here's the painful part. People like James are often too proud to say they're struggling. They don't want pity. They want answers. They want to understand how saving a lifetime still led to not having enough. In the next chapter, we'll break down how hidden costs and shifting policies slowly dismantled the safety nets many seniors thought would catch them, and why millions are now facing their so-called golden years in quiet crisis. So how did we get here? How did so many hardworking people end up entering retirement with so little? The truth is, it wasn't just one thing. It was a series of slow-moving shifts that quietly eroded the foundation beneath an entire generation's financial future. For many older adults, it started with wages that never kept up. Throughout the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, the cost of living rose steadily while wages stayed mostly flat. Even for those who saved diligently, there simply wasn't enough income left over to put away what they truly needed, especially while raising families, paying off mortgages, or caring for aging parents of their own. Then came 2008. The housing crash and financial crisis didn't just wipe out savings. It shook people's confidence in the system. Retirement accounts plummeted, jobs disappeared, and many who were just a few years away from retiring had to start over, some taking on debt, others delaying retirement indefinitely. At the same time, a massive shift was happening quietly in the background. Companies began moving away from traditional pension systems, those predictable monthly payments that once sustained retirees, and replaced them with 401ks. On paper, it sounded empowering. Individuals would now control their own retirement. But in practice, it meant shifting the risk from the employer, and not everyone was equipped for that. Managing a 401k takes financial literacy, long-term planning, and a good deal of luck. Yet most people were never taught how to invest, rebalance, or plan for market volatility. Many made conservative choices out of fear, while others chased risky investments based on poor advice. Add in hidden fees, inconsistent employer contributions, and market crashes, and what looked like a decent nest egg on paper could suddenly shrink to something barely sustainable. There's also the emotional toll of having to make lifelong financial decisions without a roadmap. Many seniors were left guessing, hoping their money would last, trying to stretch it in ways they never imagined. Some were steered toward financial products they didn't fully understand, or pressured into investments that promised high returns but offered little protection. All of this created the perfect storm. A generation that saved, sacrificed, and trusted the system is now facing the consequences of a system that shifted beneath them without warning and without support. The frustration, the fear, the disbelief, they're not coming from people who failed to plan. They're coming from people who were never told the rules had changed. And they're still trying to catch up. Even for those who made it through the paycheck-to-paycheck years and weathered the investment storms, there's another layer of financial pressure that often gets overlooked until it hits home. The hidden costs of aging are some of the most devastating. They don't come with much warning, and when they arrive, they tend to unravel everything. Medical expenses are one of the biggest culprits. You can plan for premiums, maybe even budget for prescriptions. But what happens when you need surgery or physical therapy that isn't fully covered? What happens when a test leads to a diagnosis that changes everything? One hospital stay, one ambulance ride, one unexpected scan, and suddenly thousands of dollars are gone in days. Even with Medicare, out-of-pocket costs can mount fast. Deductibles, copays, uncovered treatments, mobility aids, follow-ups, it all adds up. And long-term care? That's an entirely different storm. Most people don't realize that Medicare doesn't cover long-term custodial care. That means if you need help bathing, dressing, or eating due to chronic illness or frailty, you're on your own. A decent assisted living facility can cost $50,000, 0 cents a year. A nursing home? Up to $100,000, 0 cents or more. And aging in place with in-home help isn't cheap either. All it takes is one serious diagnosis, a stroke, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and even a lifetime of saving can vanish, slowly at first, then all at once. And for those who aren't the ones diagnosed, the cost of caring for a partner can be just as overwhelming. Spouses often take on the role of unpaid caregiver, quietly devoting their days to helping with medications, mobility, hygiene, and meals. But caregiving comes with its own price: missed work, physical strain, mental exhaustion, and financial sacrifice. Many dip into savings, pull from retirement accounts, or even take out loans to cover their partner's care. Some eventually need help themselves, but don't get it, because everything went toward the one who needed it first. And still, they carry the burden without complaint, because that's what love does. But it shouldn't be what love has to do, at the expense of your own health and security. This is where the dream of retirement quietly dissolves for so many couples. Not in bad decisions or reckless spending, but in quiet acts of devotion that drain the very resources they worked their whole lives to build. It's a reality so many never saw coming. And once it starts, it's almost impossible to stop. Even for those who have planned carefully, saved consistently, and avoided major health setbacks, another quiet thief is steadily working against them: inflation. Year by year, it chips away at the value of everything they've worked for. A dollar saved 20 years ago simply doesn't stretch like it used to. That grocery bill that used to be $50.00 is now $120.00. A modest tank of gas has doubled. Electricity and water rates creep upward. Rent increases show up every year, sometimes without warning. And for retirees living on fixed incomes, there's no easy way to keep up. Social Security was never designed to be the only source of retirement income, but for many it has become just that. And while benefits may technically adjust each year, the increases often fall short of reality. The cost of living adjustment might rise by 3%, but the true cost of living, especially for seniors, is growing much faster. Food isn't just more expensive. It's the healthy options that hit hardest. Fruits, vegetables, proteins, and fresh foods are often out of reach, leading many to choose cheaper, less nutritious alternatives. And when a senior has to decide between medication and meals, something's deeply broken. Housing adds to the burden. Even those who own their homes aren't immune. Property taxes climb, maintenance costs accumulate, renters face constant uncertainty and rising rates with few protections. Utility bills, once manageable, now fluctuate unpredictably. Seniors trying to stretch every dollar lower the thermostat, unplug appliances, or go without air conditioning, risking their health just to save a few extra dollars. It's a slow squeeze, not dramatic but relentless, and it wears people down. Many older adults never expected they'd have to budget every penny of their golden years. But inflation makes it a daily necessity, and the emotional toll is real. Constant worry, shame over asking for help, and the quiet sense of losing control over the life they worked so hard to build. Even small luxuries, a dinner out, a birthday gift, a holiday trip to see family, start to feel impossible. There's no room for spontaneity, only careful math and hard decisions. For a generation that upheld thrift and discipline, this reality can feel like betrayal. They did what they were taught. They saved. They planned. But they didn't account for a world where every year their money quietly loses power and their needs quietly increase. This is what it looks like when the math of aging no longer works. Not because people failed, but because the economy changed faster than the support systems designed to protect them. At the heart of all this struggle lies something deeper. It's not just bad luck or isolated hardship, it's systemic failure. Because for all the talk about retirement plans and golden years, the truth is this: our society has not built a reliable safety net for people once they stop working. We expect seniors to become self-sustaining at precisely the moment they need the most support. There's Social Security, yes, but it was never designed to carry the full weight of someone's post-work life. There's Medicare, but it doesn't cover the long-term care or the out-of-pocket expenses that hit hardest. Beyond that, the safety net becomes patchy at best and invisible at worst. And into those cracks, another problem creeps in: predatory financial products targeting older adults who are trying desperately to stay afloat. Reverse mortgages, high-fee annuities, risky investment schemes, often marketed with warm smiles and reassuring language, but hide in terms that strip away equity, drain savings, or lock people into impossible situations. These aren't just unfortunate mistakes. They're targeted strategies. Because older adults are often trusting, hopeful, and out of options. And when the system leaves you behind, you cling to anything that sounds like a solution, even if it isn't. Even well-intentioned retirees have found themselves steered into insurance policies they didn't need, charged for financial advising they never asked for, or misled about guaranteed returns that vanished when they needed them most. Worse still, the modern economy has moved on, digitally, financially, structurally, in ways that often leave elderly adults behind. Banking has gone online, customer service is automated, vital forms and assistance require navigating websites, scanning documents, creating accounts, remembering passwords. And if you don't have a smartphone or a tech-savvy grandchild nearby, you're locked out, not just of convenience, but of access. We've created a world where those who built the system can no longer navigate it. Seniors who contributed for decades are now told to figure it out at the most vulnerable stage of their lives. And the institutions that were supposed to help, government programs, financial systems, even healthcare, are often underfunded, understaffed, or so complicated they become inaccessible. All of this leaves older adults not just struggling financially, but feeling abandoned, left to quietly solve problems they didn't create, punished, not protected, for aging in a system that moved forward without them. They're not looking for luxury. They're looking for fairness, for respect, for acknowledgement that a life of hard work should count for something, that aging with dignity shouldn't be a privilege, but a right. And right now, that right is being denied to far too many. Beyond the numbers, beyond the budgets, the loans, the lost savings, there's a weight that lives in the silence. The emotional toll of growing old without enough isn't always visible, but it is absolutely real, and it cuts deeper than most people realize. Because it's not just about what's in the bank account. It's about what that bank account represents. Security, dignity, freedom, the ability to say yes without hesitation, to help a grandchild with school, to replace the shoes with worn soles without thinking twice. When those choices disappear, so does a part of your identity. Many older adults carry that loss in silence, not because they don't feel it, but because they feel it too deeply. There's shame in not having enough after a lifetime of doing everything right. There's a fear of being judged, of being seen as irresponsible or incapable. And so they hide it. They'll skip meals quietly, turn down invitations with polite excuses, pretend they're just fine when the truth is they're exhausted from counting pennies, embarrassed to admit they're struggling and terrified to become a burden to the people they love. That pride, the same pride that kept them working long hours, sacrificing, showing up, it now keeps them from asking for help, even when help is exactly what they need. There's a quiet desperation behind so many closed doors. You won't see it in public, but it's there, in the medicine being rationed, the heating bill that goes unpaid, the holiday skipped again this year. They scroll past photos of friends traveling or celebrating, wondering how everyone else made it work, wondering if they did something wrong, wondering why following the rules didn't protect them the way it was supposed to. What makes it even harder is the loneliness. When you're financially struggling, you don't just lose access to things, you start to lose your sense of belonging. You pull away from community. You feel the distance grow, not because others pushed you out, but because shame slowly closed the door behind you. And yet, these are the same people who built the world we stand on, who paid taxes, raised children, fought wars, ran businesses, taught classrooms. They gave their lives to this country, to their communities, to their families. Now they're left to figure it out alone. The grief in that truth is profound because it's not just about money, it's about mattering, about feeling seen, about knowing that after all these years, someone still cares. That's the real cost, the one no spreadsheet can measure, the slow erosion of self-worth, happening quietly in kitchens and bedrooms and empty living rooms all across the country. And the heartbreaking silence that comes when people believe they no longer have permission to speak it out loud. After hearing all of this, the broken systems, the rising costs, the silence, the shame, it would be easy to walk away feeling helpless. But if there's one thing we owe to ourselves and to the people who raised us, it's this: to do better with what we now know. The first step is having honest conversations about money sooner, not later. Not just about how much to save, but about what things actually cost. Medical care, housing, daily living, long-term support. Too many people still plan for retirement like it's one long vacation. But the truth is, it's a new chapter of needs. And those needs require a different kind of planning. One grounded in realism, not just hope. Families also have a role to play. We need to check in, listen, and look for the quiet signs that someone we love might be struggling. It's not just about financial support. It's about emotional connection, offering time, rides to the store, help with online forms, or even just sitting together in the quiet. Communities can make a difference too. Local programs that offer transportation, meal services, home maintenance, or social opportunities can ease the pressure. And when they're not available, neighbors can step in. Even one person checking in regularly can help someone feel remembered and respected. But the real change comes when we raise our voices together. We need policy reform that expands Medicare coverage, protects against financial exploitation, and builds real safety nets for aging populations. Seniors shouldn't have to rely on GoFundMe pages to afford prescriptions or long-term care. Some places are already stepping up. In certain towns, volunteer-run villages help seniors stay in their homes longer with coordinated support services. In others, libraries offer free tax help and financial counseling. And more older adults are returning to the workforce, not because they have to, but because they want to. They're bringing wisdom, purpose, and years of experience into part-time jobs, mentorship roles, and even entrepreneurial ventures. These stories matter not because they erase the pain, but because they remind us that solutions are still within reach, that community, compassion, and creativity can go a long way. We don't have to fix everything all at once, but we do have to start acknowledging the truth that aging with dignity should not be a luxury. It should be the standard. And we all have a part in making that future possible through the choices we make, the policies we support, and the conversations we're finally willing to have. So much of what we've talked about leads to one undeniable truth. Saving isn't enough if the system is broken. We've been telling people for generations to plan for retirement like it's just a math problem. Save X dollars, withdraw Y%, and everything will work out. But that equation doesn't account for inflation, medical crises, caregiving, corporate greed, or policy failure. It doesn't account for how fast dignity can disappear when money runs out and the world stops paying attention. The hard reality is that we've placed the weight of growing old on the backs of individuals, then stepped aside as they carry it alone. And the ones suffering most aren't people who lived recklessly or failed to plan. They're the ones who sacrificed, who followed the rules, who contributed every step of the way. They did everything they were told to do, and still they are ending up with nothing. We must stop treating aging as a personal shortcoming. It's not a mistake to grow older. It's not a failure to need help. It's not weakness to run out of money in a system that was never built to truly support you in the first place. Aging with dignity shouldn't be a gamble. It should be a promise, a reward for a life of effort, a society's way of saying, we remember you, we value you. We're not done standing with you just because you've stopped working. But that promise is being broken again and again. What we're witnessing is more than financial. It's moral, it's emotional, it's a reflection of what we choose to value and who we choose to protect. The faces behind this story are our parents, our grandparents, our neighbors, our future selves, and they deserve more than survival. They deserve peace. They deserve comfort. They deserve to feel like their lives still matter. It's easy to look away, to chalk it up to economics or inevitability, but that's not the truth. The truth is that millions of good, honest people are being quietly erased by systems that treat aging as a burden rather than a human reality. And we can't let that continue. They gave everything, built this world, raised families, paid taxes, fought wars, taught classrooms, filled factories, took care of everyone else. And now they're being left with nothing. Maybe it's time we give something back. Not just with words, but with action, with policy, with presence, with love. Because no one who gave their life to building this country should be made to feel like they don't belong in it anymore. If this story moved you, don't let it stop here. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Start the conversation. Ask the questions. Check in on the people who've quietly carried more than they've ever said out loud. And if you're one of the many facing these struggles yourself, please know this: you are not forgotten, you are not alone, and you are not to blame. Subscribe to Elderly Truths for more honest stories, real talk, and reflections on what it truly means to grow older in today's world. Together, we can speak the truths that too many have been told to hide. Until next time, take care of yourself, and take care of those who came before you. They deserve nothing less.